There's a way to make an entrance.
This is my destiny.
It was now a conspiracy of witches.
Download Veely today.
Being a British guy in 2015 is not easy. 21st century pressures are changing.
No way.
The way we live,
Women are seen as superior to men.
the way we love,
If you are a Muslim, you cannot be gay. That's as simple as that.
even the way we look.
That's silicone.
Yeah.
This is mental.
In this series, I'm traveling to the extreme edge of modern British masculinity.
They basically said the only way you can stay is if you agree to be exorcised to get the demons out of you.
50 years after women began a march for equal rights, the battle of the sexes is being fought on a new front.
The state of gender relations is at its worst probably for 100 years.
But this time, it's not by women,
Men rape. That's all we hear about, that men are rapists.
it's by young men.
Men are murdered more, commit suicide more, men are homeless more, men are raped more in prison than women are total.
I want to know why so many young guys feel overlooked,
Women are no longer trained to submit to a man, to serve a man.
overly judged,
I think the UK, especially the media, needs to decide whether or not they want freedom of speech or they want to stop people being offended by comedy.
and under attack.
I thought that's sort of like a concerted attempt to shut men up.
I want to find out why a new generation of men thinks the real victims of sex discrimination are guys.
I'm pretty confident that women's issues are being dealt with. Men's issues, not so much.
It's Sunday morning, the perfect time for a lecture by a man who teaches guys how to get more sex. Meet American blogger Roosh V.
So what I wanted to talk about today is having sex with girls you don't really like. I probably am not going to spend more than a couple hours just to access their warm, moist cavity holes.
Roosh made his name as a so-called pickup artist, writing guides for young men on how to sleep with women around the world. He's got a book called 30 Bangs. What? Bang Ukraine, bang Iceland, bang Poland, bang Lithuania. Don't bang Denmark. Apparently Denmark isn't worth banging. But in 2012, a US civil rights group included Roosh on a list of websites they branded hateful and misogynistic.
British girls are busted. You know they're not that old, but they just look old, like they've been working in a factory or coal mine their entire lives.
But he hasn't let that hold him back. He's now on a world tour. Though from the sounds of it, he's expecting trouble. He's actually kept the venues that he's doing his events at a secret, up until the very last minute. According to his website, the reason is that he's worried about feminists. Is what he's doing and saying so offensive that people are going to try and shut down this event? The name of the talk is The State of Man. One of the first bullet points in terms of what his speech will contain is something about the paradox of modern women. It feels like it's a lot broader than here's how to chat up the lady that you fancy at the bar. On the outside, it doesn't look like anyone's about to storm the doors. But inside, I'm starting to notice a real atmosphere.
Thanks.
I'm not sure anyone wants me here. We've already agreed not to show the faces of anyone who wants to remain anonymous. I'm pretty sure that this is the first time I've filmed anywhere where everyone insists on it. Roosh's topic today is the state of man. Maybe it's more controversial than I expected.
Sorry to jump in front of the queue. I just want to say thank you for having us here, man. A lot of people have turned up today to hear you speak.
The reason I came here is because the percentage of English men who read me is very large. And that is a weird thing because I'm not from here. But the problem is men are not allowed to speak the views that I am speaking. It takes an outsider to come here and not be afraid of the hate crime laws that you guys have to give the truth. And so I wish there were more men here who could share their views, but if they do, we all know that people are going to go after their jobs and shame them.
You've got all shapes and sizes in here. It is really a broad spectrum as well in terms of race and background, and it actually feels quite excitable in here. You know, there's a room full of men who are excited about what they're about to hear. So am I.
Something has happened in the past 50 years where women are no longer trained to submit to a man, to serve a man. The very idea of beauty and aesthetics is being demolished to where now women are being applauded and encouraged to look like fat, outer space cyborgs. Women and gays are seen as superior to straight men. Anything that a woman or a gay person wants is theirs. But anything you want, sorry, we cannot help you. All of you here are seen as rapists. You have to be taught how not to rape by a feminist who is really fat.
Now, these aren't really the dating tips I was expecting. This is beginning to sound more like a conspiracy theory.
The bad news is that we haven't hit the bottom.
Do you think that eventually this will become a political movement? And if the answer is yes, I'd like to put in my application to work for you. That's not a joke.
I have a daughter, and sometimes I do fear for her upbringing. I think I'm doing a fairly good job. I try and set, a good moral guideline for her to follow. But what am I going to do to stop her from becoming the worst of what we see in society today?
You should give her a man to marry at a young age, 18. At least when she's 30, you have 3 or 4 grandkids. Or she's gonna be what? She's gonna work in a job, one bad boy after the next. Many of you actually are going to use her. I don't think you should give her the freedom and the choice.
Let's see, what does Reggie think about what we discussed today?
It's been a much broader talk than I expected, in all honesty. I sort of came here expecting to hear how to pick up women, but it seems to be more about masculinity more than anything else.
Now, I take it that you have achieved a level of fame here. How have you leveraged that fame to sleep with the women that you want? Like, I really want to know that. Like, is it easy? Like, do girls just come up to you?
I've been doing what I do for a long time, and I started in television when I was 8 years old, so this isn't new to me anymore.
Are you gay?
No. I'm actually engaged to be married. So no.
Oh, okay. All right. Never mind. That's good.
Yeah. Out of interest, just how big do you think what it is that you're doing here will actually get?
The sites that I run touch over 1 million people every month.
Wow.
And maybe they're not willing to come here and pay, but the ideas that I share is growing and growing.
All right, follow me out, lads, please.
And then, just when I think no one will go on camera, 2 men agree to meet me outside. Adam runs his own business, and Lorenzo is studying to be a barrister.
So what is it that's actually brought you guys here today? Why have you decided to come down?
Well, what's brought me here really is I feel that there's sort of a concerted attempt to shut men up recently,
right,
the past few years, and we're sort of losing ground. The BBC doesn't have a great, it doesn't get a great flack when it comes to these sort of things at all. They do seem to be on the side of what's right on.
Yeah.
And feminism is the fashionable cause.
What sort of man is attracted to an event like today, do you think?
Somebody who wants to engage with a very international, as you can see, group of concerned fellow travellers who are interested in discussing these problems. I mean, look in here. These people are now mixing together, and very few of them have met one another before.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, whilst these guys want to meet women, and that's what Roosh sells, some of them don't seem to like them very much.
And there are some really offensive, strong views from what
on face value, seems to be the meekest of the meek, the most normal looking guys, and they have these views that are just unbelievable. The thing that worries me most is that a lot of the ideas that are coming out of that room might be more commonplace than I probably assumed this morning. Nevertheless, many of the men I met at the seminar claim they had to hide their views and their faces for fear of repercussions at work. There is one guy whose view on this I'd really like to hear. Comedian Daniel O'Reilly built an online audience in the millions with short vines showing proper geezer Dapper Laughs out on the pool.
What's your name?
Carly.
Carly? Fucking she knows. Carly, you're lovely. Hey, you're lovely. I've always had a thing for lovely women. Do you want to see it? Hey!
And landed himself a mainstream TV series off the back of his success.
All the girls down the front are always the same. They start off at the beginning. Dapper! Halfway through the show, Dapper! After the show,
But Dapper's laddishness was branded sexist and even misogynistic from the start. And when it was alleged he'd made a joke about rape at a gig, Daniel found himself on Newsnight defending his entire act.
Just show her your penis. If she cries, she's playing hard to get. What you're saying is that women who say no don't mean no.
With no disrespect to you, do you think, looking at me now, that I actually would go out and do that?
Although Daniel apologised, his TV show was cancelled. But his character Dapper Laughs lives on.
The only reason I wear a condom, right, is to stop the girl getting pregnant. But I've got a couple of other tips for you. Get yourself one of them morning after pills, yeah? Crush it up, put it in her drink. I'm joking, respect women.
From the sounds of it, Daniel hasn't made any changes. And he's pretty unrepentant, despite all the flack.
Who saw me on Newsnight? Who saw that? That interview was hard for me because it's the only time I've actually really played a character. On the outside, I'm going, no, of course that's not acceptable to go up to a woman and say, get your gash out. On the inside, I'm going, can you get your fucking gash out? Hey! Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you very much for coming. Bye-bye. Get this fucking beer.
How'd you think that went?
The show was great.
Yeah? And it seems as though your crowd is very much sort of predominantly young men, 25 and under.
Yeah, but I mean...
Why do you think that's the crowd that
You saw a lot of women there, though.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll get to the girls, but I mean, the mainstay of your crowd is young men. Why do you think that is?
I think just because when I started off doing the comedy, I was really trying to take the piss out of men's attitudes, like, oh, you fucking, she knows, like, and a lot of people don't want to go and laugh at political satire or current affairs. Yeah. Sometimes they just want to laugh at something that's easy to laugh at.
Why do you think women come to your show?
Unless you've got a cause to fight, like you're a feminist or you're against sexism, or unless you've got a cause to fight, a lot of the young girls are like, they can see I'm taking the piss out of men.
Do you think that it's the reason that what happened to you happened was because you made a joke about something as serious as rape, or do you think it happened because of your particular brand of humour?
I think it happened because I blew up outside of the conventional way of becoming.
It wasn't that one incident, it was just the speed that you got to where you were.
I was getting shit from that. Oh, sorry, I was getting stuff from them same journalists, from them same people, months before that. They were just looking for something. My family personally has been affected by sexual violence. It's not a joke, do you know what I mean? And the only reason why I quit at the time is because what the media were putting on the family. It was horrible. I always judge how well I'm doing in life by what my mum says. And my mum has not been offended by anything that I fucking put out there. Because she knows I'm taking the piss out of men. But listen, do you know what they're doing in the media now? They won't go, oh, I didn't find it funny, but I respect his audience and that he's allowed to do that brand of comedy. They will say, it's shit. I think the UK, especially the media, needs to decide whether or not they want freedom of speech or they want to stop people being offended by comedy. I think comedy is the last avenue we've got. It's comedy that, like, do you know, what's next? You're gonna ban people watching horror movies? because someone's going to go out and kill someone. If I say something on stage and someone goes out and does it, they're screwed in the head. That's got nothing to do with me.
Do you ever worry about the way that it could be taken out of context or the way that it could offend?
Yeah, it depends who's in the audience. I ain't going to be taken out of context with my fans, because my fans are watching and go, I heard the same stuff on the building site yesterday. Do you know what I mean?
That all got a bit emotional, and I can understand why. You know, this is a man who feels as though he lost his moment, his opportunity. But unfortunately, whether he wants to admit it to himself at the moment or not, he is normalising a certain level of humour that a lot of people find offensive.
Real equality feminists today have a real problem with the mainstream feminists, because the mainstream feminists are radical Marxist feminists. Feminism.
Speaker's Corner in London has always been a place for people to meet and share controversial views. And today is no exception.
Men rape, men rape. That's all we hear about, that men are rapists and child abusers. This is what feminism has been talking about. Now, have you noticed what she did then? What she did is she simplifies things down to say that I'm a woman hater.
Rod is a men's rights activist and is determined no one's going to shut him up.
Men don't need your help. They do need our help. They need our help very much. Our problem...
Well done. That got a bit intense, didn't it?
It does, but you get heckled to pieces.
Do you think coming here to Speaker's Corner week on week is going to actually change anything?
Yes, because what happens, we often see a young man standing in the background, doesn't say anything, stays for hours.
Hello everybody, my name's Josh, I'm 18, I'm from Essex. In my spare time I do a YouTube channel and a blog about gender politics and men's issues.
There's another crowd gathered around a second speaker, but there's something different here.
What is the obstacle to getting men's issues addressed in society?
He's just a teenager.
People don't know what men's issues are. Domestic violence against men is not treated seriously. When numerous places have done tests where they got women to hit men in public, people have laughed and taken videos and said, oh, he probably deserves it. And the opposite never happens. Thanks for listening.
Just out of interest, what put this on your radar? Why would you say the issues that men are dealing with is such a problem for you?
Men's issues, I feel like there are far too, particularly young voices, there are far too few. I mean, we've got the Minister for Women and Equalities here in the UK, we've got the European Parliament Committee on Women's Rights, and we've got UN Women. We have no comparative organisations for men. So I'm pretty confident that women's issues are being dealt with. Men's issues, not so much.
I hadn't expected young guys like this to be so angry about what they see as discrimination against men. Meanwhile, Roosh's world tour has rumbled onto Canada, but he's run into some local opposition.
The Toronto media, Toronto Star, City News, every channel, I'm the leading newscast. Me, a random writer from the US who wants to meet with 40 guys just to have fun with them and talk to them.
But it's not just Roosh. With a few clicks, I'm starting to realise these kinds of views are easy to find. Now, this idea of what Roosh is about and what he stands for seems to be a small part of a much bigger conversation, because on Roosh's website there is mention of this thing that I've never heard of before, and it's called the manosphere. No, it's a real thing. The manosphere is a name given to an informal network of blogs, websites and internet commentators that focuses on issues relating to men and masculinity, often in opposition to feminism. Growing up with four sisters, you want to see them blossom, and you don't see anything that can help that as being negative. But being at Roosh's seminar, the word feminism seemed to come up over and over again, and it was never presented in a positive light. But Roosh isn't the only one. British journalist Milo Yiannopoulos has written for The Telegraph, news sites, and has his face all over YouTube. He seems to have done an incredible job of continuously arguing with journalists and politicians and feminists. He feels like someone that I need to have a chat with. And it turns out, with a growing profile as a self-proclaimed anti-feminist, Milo is only too happy to meet with me.
Good to see you. Nice to meet you. Good to meet you too. Good to meet you too. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Listen, you are the perfect person for me to speak to at this point. I met Roosh V very recently.
Okay, cool.
And I've sort of been made hip to this whole idea of the manosphere. Can you sort of explain to me what the manosphere is and what it's broken up into?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very eccentric sort of group of men who feel dissatisfied with the way that society is going, the way that the relationships between men and women are organised. And I think a lot of men are feeling as though their traditional role as provider has been, diluted to such a point where they're not really sure what they're supposed to be there for anymore. And what a lot of the pickup artists, people like Roosh, do for these guys is give them a renewed sense of purpose. A lot of these young boys are very worried that they will be alone forever. A lot of them are worried they won't ever get good jobs and they will never get a decent pension, and they sort of just don't know where they fit.
It kind of feels like it's two sides going against each other. You've got the manosphere and all the permutations of that, and then you've got feminism.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
What's happened to feminism in the last sort of 20 years is it's become very tied up with very far left activist politics. And this particular brand of feminism, which says that women shouldn't just be equal to men, but should be the same as men. If they want to sort of grow their hair and get fat, then they should be allowed to, ignores basic biological realities. And it also ignores some of the things that are different about men and women and different ways that men and women look for happiness. I think that the state of gender relations, the understanding and happiness between the two sexes is at its worst probably for 100 years. And I think that you could reasonably say that feminism has a large part to play in that.
Now I find these views surprising. And I'm not a feminist, but you don't have to be one to be challenged by Milo's point of view.
And I've had messages about you prior to us meeting.
Already?
Yeah, of course.
And what are they saying?
They say this guy's going to stitch us up. I can tell he's going to stitch us up. And I can't blame them for this because it has happened to them so many times before, over and over and over again. They're just outright lied about.
Right.
He's made it really clear that people are worried about me. I don't know why they're worried about me. What have I done? It's mental that, I'm so early on in this journey, and already people are paranoid that I'm out to get them. There seems to be this weird sort of sense of paranoia in this world. It's frustrating to be judged before I've even begun. I want to see if I can persuade anyone from these secretive online groups to meet me face to face.
They have started discussing me and what it is I'm trying to achieve online. Now, when I say discussing, what I mean is putting up video blogs on YouTube. And it's not just the one video, there's shitloads.
Some of these anti-BBC videos have had thousands of views already. So maybe YouTube is the best way to try and set up a talk.
This could be the worst idea ever, but I think it's worth having a crack at. Hello there, MGTOW. My name is Reggie Yates. Some of you know that, most of you probably don't. I'm in your world now. All that I want to do is make a program that features you and your beliefs, where they come from and who exactly you are. So get in touch. Thank you. I do think there is a small chance that we may have a conversation, but I think it will be on their terms. And if that means it's a Google chat, if that means that it's via the comment section, so be it. It's 2015, damn it.
But whilst I wait for replies to my video, I'm still intrigued by that young guy standing on a soapbox in Hyde Park.
Welcome to Feminist Idiocy. In contrast to feminist hypocrisy, this series is simply me explaining issues that feminists talk about that are ridiculous.
Josh told the crowd to check out his videos on YouTube. So I have, and the content is far more extreme than anything he said in the park.
So the best way to discuss rape and the chances of it happening is to take the emotional element out of the question. Of course, that's why feminists are shitty at discussing rape. That was it.
What on earth is it that is inspiring someone so young to say so much? And why does he feel as strongly as he does at such a young age? At 18, I wasn't thinking like this.
We are now approaching Colchester.
Josh has agreed to meet me at his home. I want to find out what's behind his views.
There he is.
Hi.
Hello. How you doing, Josh?
I'm good, you?
I am good also. Thank you for having me in your home.
Oh, it's okay.
Why have you got a Anfield Road sign up? Am I in a Liverpool Football Club?
Dad's a big Liverpool fan.
Oh, get me out of here.
So you live with your parents?
Yeah, mum and dad.
Okay. All right.
It's the room.
There we go. Right. Okay. What are you working on over here then?
This is the script.
A massive sort of document. Oh, so you write scripts for your videos?
Yeah, I do script them. I used to not, but then I just ramble and go off on a tangent and have to edit loads of stuff out. So that's a script for part 1 of my drunk sex series.
Josh is recording today, the latest in a series on how men can be unfairly accused of rape. All right, I need to see the studio.
Studio's probably a generous term, it's just our spare room. The people who owned this house before us had a very young daughter, so it's decorated for like a 2-year-old girl.
Oh, right, okay.
So.
Oh, you weren't joking?
No, it is.
You really aren't joking.
Mum bought that as a joke because it went with the room in a sort of funny way. That's not a serious thing.
Okay, so this is where you shoot your videos, this is it?
Basically, yeah, it's a tiny little set.
This is the chair?
That is the chair.
Can I sit in the chair?
You're welcome to sit in the chair.
Look at this. Do you not think it's crazy that, you know, you're literally sat here in your spare room with a camcorder and a bit of a script and suddenly people all over the world have access to your points of view?
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. I've got, you know, just over 2,000 subscribers watching these videos and liking what they see.
I want to see you do what you do.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
Let's do it then. Can I help in any way?
No, at the moment the camera only works when it's plugged in, so I'm going to have to do that. Fit loads, come on.
So what's the theme of the video then?
Measurements of drunk sex. So what is drunk?
Just out of interest, why is this issue on your radar right now?
I read an article in, I think, Huffington Post about California's new yes means yes law.
So the basis of your think piece, if you want to call it that, have come from what exactly?
Mostly from just sort of thinking about it, really, because it's just something, a lot of the things I talk about are just things you can understand if you just think about them in more detail. Hello everybody, welcome to Drunk Sex, a treatise in 3 parts. So, let's try that one again. Hello everybody, welcome to Drunk Sex, a treatise in 3 parts. This is part 1, measurements. So, drunk sex, a lot of feminists are now saying, is rape. Think about the perils just of going on holiday. I could find a girl here in the UK, we could have sex, it's fine, she's not too drunk, she's still legally able to drive. We go to a US state with a stricter rule, and suddenly I'm a rapist. Okay, right. It also has to be something that people can be expected to keep track of.
At 18, Josh is not afraid to speak out. I'm just not sure why.
This will overwhelmingly be a burden on men. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Josh.
Boom. And just like that, it's done.
Yeah, just as my SD card ran out of memory. Perfect. I had to cut a little bit out for that.
Wow. What's really fascinating about you, Josh, is your age. You know, you are so young. And over the years, I've met activists all over the world, fighting for different causes. And the thing that is consistent in all those people that I've met is that there is a reason. What is your reason?
I don't really have a satisfying answer to that question. People ask me it all the time, and it's not like I had some big life-changing experience like a lot of people do. You know, a lot of the people I speak to in the men's movement are, they went through a troubling divorce, or they were abused by a partner, or they were raped. It was never like that for me. As a living, I'd like to be, you know, a men's issues speaker, or I'd like to join a think tank that talks about these issues, something like that. This is something I want to do for the rest of my life. We've got some stuff that she was given as a present.
And is this
Mum's
or yours?
That's Mum's. Mine's in the sink, actually.
You can grab a seat out here. Look at this. Perfect. How do women react to your views? Particularly, well, your mum. I mean, you live at home. How does she react to some of the things that you say in your videos?
Nothing I say in my video is anti-woman, but some women do treat it as if it's an attack on women. I wouldn't talk about women's issues and feminism at all if I didn't think I needed to for men's issues. So if it wasn't the case that our domestic violence laws were heavily influenced by feminist academia, I wouldn't speak about it.
What gets picked on? What is it that they jump on?
I talk about false rape claims. I say false rape accusations are really harmful to someone's life. People have been killed by mobs without a court case ever taking place. And I try and talk about that, and they accuse me of derailing the conversation because false rape accusations are only 2%, even though we can't get an accurate study on that. It's more you're not focusing on the right issues than you're actively promoting something that's anti-women.
False rape claims are disgusting, and that's one of my worst nightmares, to be accused for a crime, serve time for something I definitely didn't do. But the fact that rape exists, and the fact that it is such an issue, and the fact that it is happening, it's happening on every street, and people aren't talking about it. It is a real issue.
Yes, but it's not like I'm hearing someone talk about how bad rape is and I'm like, oh, also false rape accusations. No, it's a complete separate thing.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of why so little of your time is dedicated to being 18? Because you're only 18 once.
I spend my time being 18. I do. This doesn't take up like half of my time, but I think I have an advantage over the men who have had their lives derailed purely because I'm not coming at it from an emotional angle, which means, because if you are emotional about something, it can lead to you being aggressive.
Josh is a really impressive speaker, but I can't help worrying that he's building opinions about how women behave based on other men's bad experiences that he's found online, before he's even had a chance to live his own life. And there is nothing wrong with fighting for men's rights. There is nothing wrong with believing that there should be equality. But when your own personal experience with women has been hard, has been unfavorable, and that then affects the way that you view the world, to then present that as the gospel is where things get dangerous, especially when you're looking at how many young men this is beginning to affect. But at least Josh is prepared to stand up, be counted, and meet me face to face. And other anti-feminists on the internet? Not so much. But my video has caused a reaction, and plenty of anonymous men have had their say. Only a fool would trust this dude. Fuck off. BBC stands for Big Black Cock. If this is what I'm receiving after literally sticking my tiny brown pinky toe into the pool that is the manosphere, what is it like for a feminist? What is it like for someone who says, I disagree with you guys? I don't know. Journalist Laurie Penny has written about both men's rights activism and sexism on the net. She's agreed to talk about the kind of response she gets when she does. So exactly what sort of interaction have you had with these guys online?
Well, in terms of threats, I've had everything ranging from individual attacks, people sending me pictures of like gross pornography with my head pasted on, getting fisted by Hitler. I had a bomb threat sent to my house, people saying they knew where my house was, I had to leave, so did my landlord. People really want to intimidate me and anybody who writes about feminism online.
Could you show me some of the messages that you've actually received?
Yeah, well, I'm not totally happy with them showing on camera, but you can have a look at them. Yeah, I mean, people just send that sort of nonsense to me. Well, that's one of the milder ones.
Oh my God, so...
Yeah, that was last week.
Is that a picture? That's actually, they found a picture of you and pasted it onto that image.
Yeah.
Why are you specifically being targeted?
Well, it's not me specifically. It's every woman who writes about feminism on the internet to some extent. I'm absolutely not the only one. The intention is to silence people and shut them down. I think it's very ironic that these men's rights activists claim that they feel silenced when they are organising to silence women.
What is it that's motivating these men to do this? I mean, what is the problem that they have that is manifesting itself in sending these images, do you think?
There is a lot of genuine frustration behind the men's rights activist movement, and I understand the emotions that are behind that sense of powerlessness and a feeling of loss of power. The trouble is that whilst feelings are valid, it's what you do with those feelings that makes the decision about who you are as a human being.
So what's driving hate like this? And who are these people? In 2013, even a simple campaign to commemorate Jane Austen on a £10 note resulted in a barrage of vile abuse sent to female campaign leaders. Free speech is one thing, but threats of rape or worse feels different to me, and they're becoming more and more common online. I just don't get where all this hate is coming from, but I know a man who might. How you doing?
How you doing, right?
Good to see you. Yeah, very Milo Yiannopoulos. I met Laurie, who is a feminist who I know that you're aware of, and Laurie has received unbelievable messages, which go from I know where you live to I'm watching you right now to I'm going to do XYZ to you tonight.
They don't believe this stuff.
It's
not. Look, okay.
Oh, come on.
Listen, this is the typical bait and switch that happens with progressive activists, right? You
goad people, you egg them on, you deliberately provoke them, and then suddenly you turn around and play the victim because you've got messages that you don't like the sound of. Well, I'm sorry, but you know, if your entire career is based around telling white men that there is something wrong with them, you can't then complain when you get messages on Twitter saying that, you know, that somebody wants to hurt you.
Why do you think men resort to using the word rape so often?
What the study shows that men and women use slightly different language when they lose their temper. Women tend to call each other sluts and bitches and whores and that sort of stuff. Rape as a sort of expression of power and domination is more what men go for when they lose their temper, like they might threaten to beat you up.
What does this mean for men moving
It means
forward?
for men that you can't win an argument in the public sphere unless you watch your language so carefully. When they speak out, they lose their jobs, or they get just as much trolling as as any feminist activist. But that's the dysfunctional situation we've got ourselves into, precisely because men are terrified to speak out about this stuff.
Milo seems to be saying women are just being given too much, even too much protection. But with everything I've heard and read online, I'm finding it harder than ever to see men as the victimized sex. So where does that leave someone like Roosh V?
I go to the supermarket to be a pervert, to film that girl's ass and another girl's ass.
I've had to fly to Poland to find out. He just wasn't meeting the right kind of girls in America.
They cut their hair short. They are so lazy to maintain long hair that they make themselves ugly on purpose.
So he moved here a year ago, to a small university town full of female students. And before we meet, there's just time for a refresher on his back catalogue. Now, there is a lot of Roosh V books, which are available on huge websites online, by the way. Anyone can buy this stuff. And the sort of thing that is in these books is, it's not the sort of thing that I'd want my younger brother to read. It took 4 hours of foreplay and at least 30 repetitions of no, Roosh, no, until she allowed my penis to enter her vagina. No means no, until it means yes. That's actually written here. While walking to my place, I realized how drunk she was. In America, having sex with her would have been rape, since she couldn't legally give her consent. It didn't help matters that I was relatively sober, but I can't say that I cared or even hesitated. It's actually illegal to force someone to have sex in Iceland too, Roosh. I know that when it comes to sex, 1 ounce of hesitation or feeling of morality will get me nothing. That one actually leaves a nasty taste in your mouth. At his seminar, Roosh told me he has 1 million visitors a month to his sites. And one of the articles he posted there earlier this year caused horror around the world. There's a piece he's actually written on his website called How to Stop Rape. And there's a section here that reads, I thought about this problem and I'm sure I have the solution. Make rape legal if done on private property. I propose that we make the violent taking of a woman not punishable by law when done off of public grounds. Basically, you're saying if you rape someone on private grounds in a private residence, it should be okay. That is fucking disgusting. This isn't about confidence. 30 bangs isn't about making young men feel as though they have value. This is about making young women feel as though they have none. Roosh is now back from the Canadian leg of his world tour, where there was a furious reaction to his article on rape. The mayors of Montreal and Toronto tried to ban him, and he was even physically attacked in the street. Now, I'm about to meet this mammoth of the manosphere in his own home.
Hey, Reg, how's it going?
I'm very good, thank you.
I haven't seen you in a while.
It's a shoes off house,
Yes,
it?
please, shoes
Okay,
off.
no worries.
I maintain a clean home.
It's a big old apartment you got here.
Here's the bed. One of the signs I used in the lecture,
Oh my God.
I found a way to use it here.
Oh, Roosh,
really?
Is that? Please tell me you put that up for my benefit. Is that normally there?
This sign I hope will stay here. Again, I know you already saw this sign in London, but I think there's another use of it that I can use here. And I work here, so all the genius that you may have come across that I've put out starts there.
What's in the kitchen?
Is
it pure muscle building foods?
Look at that. No, it's like, you know, healthy food. We got vegetables, eggs, cheeses, whole foods, right? But sometimes if a girl comes over, you know, you got to give her the supermarket champagne that I bought on sale.
You're really spoiling
But they don't
them,
know
Roosh.
that. They don't know that.
So how long has it been since you got back from Canada? Or the world tour?
I've only been back for about five days.
Yeah.
I'm still recovering from the drama there. They took one article I wrote called How to Stop Rape. It was a satirical thought experiment that the way to reduce rape is to encourage women to take responsibility for what they do. And I said we should legalize rape, which of course is an absurd notion. But
I've actually read that.
Yeah, but they
I've
took
read the piece. And you use the word satirical, and it's quite hard to find the satirical angle to it when you're actually reading it.
The point I'm trying to make is what would happen if we took this absurd notion and took it in a literal sense. Well, women would just take more care of themselves like they take care of their smartphone, their purse, and their car. But what the media did, they said he is a rape advocate.
I'm surprised at how indignant Roosh seems at how his rape article was taken.
My goal as a writer is to make sure that my ideas spread far and wide. So of course satire is going to be misinterpreted, but to be misinterpreted by everyone in Canada, all the media, and even the politicians who came out against me, seems to be a deliberate action of theirs to paint me as someone that I'm not.
Roosh can't seem to see himself as anything but the victim in this, despite so many people's horror at what he wrote. I'm wondering if he will take any responsibility for what he's telling young men about sex.
One of the things that really troubled me, particularly from a point of view of someone who has a younger brother who is in his teens, if he were to read that book, for instance, and read the passage, no means no until it means yes, I'd be really concerned about what that might do in his mind.
I can understand, but I don't agree that the writing I share crosses a line. I advocate for consensual sex, but we have to understand how sex actually happens. We both know that if you bring a woman into your apartment and she, with a smile, says, no, we're not going to do anything, does that actually mean no? Is that when you stop and ask her to leave? Of course, no means no. And I have to state that. Then you stop, wait until she is ready to go farther, and then you go on.
But in your book, you talk about a situation where there's a woman who's half asleep and you jammed it in, I believe is the words that you used, which is so horrible.
But haven't you done that when a girl was half asleep? A girl that you already had sex with. You've never done it? It wasn't the first time I had sex with her.
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, listen, I mean, I'm sure you've had sex with girls who were on some kind of alcohol or something else. Does that mean that you raped them? Of course not. So if you want to examine every instance, every thrust, maybe you can find something, but this can happen to every man.
Roosh, thank you for having me in your home. No more articles on how to rape women.
No, I think
that?
I'm done with the rape issue.
I think you should
I
leave
think
that for
I've
now.
made the point, you know?
Yeah,
And
you made a point.
Okay, man.
Take care.
Sure.
It was an issue when I was growing up, and it seems to be an issue now, and that is that young men need role models. They always have and they always will. And it just seems as though this movement is providing role models, just a different kind to the ones that I agree with. I think if you've got a man to look up to that is telling you that you'll be all right and that is showing you how to navigate this weird world, then you might just survive. But if you've got someone whose view is massively skewed and massively influenced by their own inadequacies or issues, then you're going to have some of your own. My worry is that there are a ton of young men who are desperately searching for something and are finding it in the manosphere, when in reality, what they actually need is they need a confidence boost, and they need someone to show them that you don't have to be this way to be successful in any part of your life, particularly when it comes to women.